big push to empower tribals. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi has launched the Pradhan Mantri PVTG, or Particularly Vulnerable Tribal Groups Development Mission today. On Birsa Munda's birth anniversary, Prime Minister Modi was in the land of the freedom fighter himself as he announced schemes worth rupees 24,000 crore to ensure that all central initiatives reach tribal communities even in remote areas. Addressing a massive crowd in Khunti in Jharkhand, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called out previous governments for not doing enough for the welfare of the backward classes or, for that matter, members of the scheduled tribes.
मेरे परिवारजनों, जनजातीय गौरव और संघर्ष के प्रतीक भगवान बिरसा मुंडा की गाथा हर देशवासी को प्रेरणा से भर देती है। झारखंड का कोना कोना ऐसे ही महान विभूतियों को उनके हौसलों और अनथक प्रयासों से जुड़ा है। साथियों, हमारे देश में 110 से ज्यादा जिले ऐसे थे जो विकास के हर पैरामीटर पर पिछड़े हुए थे, बहुत पीछे थे। इन जिलों पर पुरानी सरकारों ने थप्पा लगा दिया, ये तो पिछड़े हैं। और पहले की सरकारें बस उसकी पहचान कर ली, ये बेकार है, पिछड़े हैं, आगे कुछ नहीं हो सकता है, और सरकार सोती रही। विकसित भारत संकल्प यात्रा एक तरह से देश के गरीबों को, देश की माताओं बहनों को, देश के नौजवानों को, देश के किसानों को मोदी की गारंटी है।
Now, Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi visited the Birsa Munda Museum to celebrate the Janjatiya Gaurav Diwas. November 15th has been declared as the Janjatiya Gaurav Diwas by the Prime Minister in a first-of-its-kind mission since independence. Prime Minister Modi launched a 24,000 crore initiative to ensure development of tribal groups to improve their socio-economic conditions of the particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Now, the mission is planned to ensure that tribal groups can actually access basic facilities such as roads and telecom connectivity, electricity, safe housing, clean drinking water and sanitation, including, of course, improved access to education as well, health and nutrition, and also sustainable livelihood opportunities. Now, the BJP's tribal outreach holds a special significance now ahead of the 2024 elections, and it also comes amid the semi-finals now, the so-called semi-finals, which is the 5 state assembly polls ahead of the ultimate battle. 3 states have a substantial tribal population and can actually swing the votes to change the fortunes of any party. And let's in fact take you through some data that we now have to show you about the electoral implications of this outreach. Let's turn our focus now to the state of Madhya Pradesh, which actually has a tribal population, or the scheduled tribe population, of 21.1%. So they're very influential in terms of the way the elections might actually turn out. Rajasthan, which is of course also going to the polls, has a 13.5% scheduled tribe population, and the state of Chhattisgarh actually has a tribal population of 30.6%. So that's actually a very substantial demographic that the BJP, of course, is eyeing, among other parties, obviously, in the electoral fray as well. Now, in states, some of the seats could ultimately determine the outcome as to how these elections might pan out. Chhattisgarh has 29 seats which are reserved for the scheduled tribes. The first phase of polling is already done. It concluded on the 7th of November. The second phase, of course, is on the 17th. There are 17 scheduled tribes seats in the fray that will go to the polls on Friday. In 2018, the Congress actually had a big pull in tribal seats, with the BJP only managing 4 seats. Remember that the Congress won those elections in Chhattisgarh in 2018 quite comprehensively. Now, in Madhya Pradesh as well, the Bharatiya Janata Party's success will largely depend on how the tribal community actually votes. In 2018, the Congress won 30 of these seats in the state of Madhya Pradesh, which are reserved for scheduled tribes, and The BJP managed to corner 17 of these seats. The Congress, of course, holding a significant advantage as far as the elections were concerned. Remember, the government was eventually toppled due to the defection of Jyotiraditya Scindia. Let's turn our focus now to the state of Rajasthan. Now, in 2018, the Congress won 12 seats for the scheduled tribes. They were reserved for the scheduled tribes, and the Bharatiya Janata Party also won 9 out of the 25 seats reserved for the scheduled tribes. That election also went the Congress way in Rajasthan. Now, in his attack on the Congress party 2 days ago, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had spoken about the way previous governments refusing to acknowledge the achievements of tribal leaders through generations.
सैकड़ों वर्षों से हमारे आदिवासी समाज ने भारत को कैसे सशक्त बनाया, भारत की संस्कृति को कैसे संरक्षित और समृद्ध किया। आजादी के आंदोलन में आदिवासी वीर वीरांगनाओं और सेनानियों का कितना बड़ा योगदान रहा। जनजातीय गौरव दिवस इसे याद करने का बहुत बड़ा दिन बन चुका है। जिस आदिवासी समाज को कांग्रेस ने हमेशा नजरअंदाज किया, जिस आदिवासी समाज की कांग्रेस ने कभी परवाह नहीं की, उस आदिवासी समाज का गौरव बढ़ाने का, सामाजिक न्याय दिलाने का काम भाजपा ने किया है।
Well, let's take this across to our guests. We have Mr. Manish Bariyar, political analyst, joining us. Shyam Prasad Meka from the Congress party is also with us, as is the spokesperson of the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, Mr. Tanuj Khatri. Let me, in fact, go across to Mr. Khatri first and foremost, since Prime Minister Modi was in Jharkhand announcing these initiatives. Mr. Khatri, how do you respond to the Prime Minister's claim that previous governments have actually neglected the welfare of the scheduled tribes? I ask you this specifically because the JMM Congress government is in power in the state of Jharkhand, and they've, of course, championed the cause of the tribals, but the Prime Minister obviously disagrees. What's your response?
देखिए, सबसे पहले तो आज धरती आबा भगवान बिरसा मुंडा जी की जयंती है और झारखंड का स्थापना दिवस भी है। समस्त झारखंड वासियों को और सभी देशवासियों को इसकी शुभकामनाएं हैं। और प्रधानमंत्री जी आए, ये भी एक सौभाग्य की बात है झारखंड के लिए। लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री जी का ये वक्तव्य खुद उनकी जो 20 साल का शासन रहा भारतीय जनता पार्टी का झारखंड के अंदर में, उस पर सवाल खड़ा करता है कि 20 साल जब भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने झारखंड के अंदर में राज किया तो फिर कुछ क्यों नहीं कर पाए वो। और झारखंड को और विशेष करके आदिवासी समुदाय को आज कुछ चीजों की उम्मीद थी कि प्रधानमंत्री आएंगे तो उनके मुख से वो बातें निकलेंगी, जिसमें सर्वप्रथम सरना आदिवासी धर्म कोड, जिसको हमारी लोकप्रिय हेमंत सोरेन जी की सरकार ने पास करने का काम किया है विधानसभा से। ये आज की नहीं, लंबी मांग है। आपको जान करके दुख होगा, मैं समझता हूं, कि आज हम जिन आदिवासियों के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं उनका कोई अलग पहचान नहीं है देश के अंदर में, उनका कोई धार्मिक कोड नहीं है। इस पर किसी ने आज तक कुछ कहने का काम नहीं किया, और हमने हेमंत सोरेन जी की सरकार ने इसको विधानसभा से पास करके केंद्र को भेजने का काम किया।
ओके मिस्टर खत्री, हमारे पास समय थोड़ा कम है, इसीलिए मैं सारे गेस्ट को एक अपॉर्चुनिटी देना चाहूंगा अपनी बात रखने के लिए। लेट मी आल्सो टेक दिस अक्रॉस टू मिस्टर बरियार. Mr. Bariyar, is the BJP's outreach, which is of course visible, also borne out by substance? Is there real progress taking place on the ground as far as the BJP's initiatives are concerned and the central government initiatives are concerned, so far as we talk about the welfare of the tribal community?
Absolutely. If you look at the history of BJP and the kind of vote share it has traditionally got, from the tribals, you will see that tribals have always supported the BJP. So they are the traditional actually voters and supporters. Now, when it comes to the welfare of tribals, as the Prime Minister was talking about, Prime Minister, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he started a ministry for tribal welfare. So you can see that there was a marked difference in the approach of BJP as far as the development of tribals are concerned. In fact, whoever is from Bihar and Jharkhand, they would know that the war cry of Bihar regiment, military regiment, is also Birsa Munda Amar Rahe. So Birsa Munda tribals has been a very integral part for the people of Bihar and Jharkhand both, and this has been recognized by BJP.
Okay.
If you see, Prime Minister is very sensitive to the tribal needs. Even in Assam, when he went there, he has recognized most of the iconic figures which otherwise have been ignored.
Right.
So it is not only about economic social package, it's also about acknowledging their role in the history of our country, and that is also very crucial.
Okay,
Okay,
Mr. Bharia. Yes. Really, so clearly beyond symbolism, that's the point that you're making as well. Mr. Meka, I'll just come to you in a short while because we have a reaction coming from the JDU as well. Here's what Mr. KC Tyagi has had to say about Prime Minister Modi's tribal outreach. He's actually mocked it, saying that the Prime Minister is only doing this to secure votes on the part of the scheduled tribe community. Let's listen to what he said.
बिरसा मुंडा समूचे आदिवासी समाज के लिए और समूचे भारत के लिए आदर्श और प्रेरणा के स्रोत हैं। वहाँ की सरकारों ने समय समय पर उनके प्रति विनम्र श्रद्धांजलि भेंट करते हुए दर्जनों तरह के कार्यक्रम चलाए हैं। आज श्री नरेंद्र मोदी का आगमन हो रहे विधानसभा चुनाव में सिर्फ और सिर्फ आदिवासी वोटों को प्रभावित करने जैसा है।
Mr. Meka, coming to you, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has of course also been campaigning in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh in certain tribal dominant areas as well, and he sought to draw a distinction in one such rally that he addressed in Madhya Pradesh between the use of the term Vanvasi and Adivasi. He said the word Vanvasi is actually not complimentary of the tribals. The word Adivasi ought to be used, and he criticized the RSS for that. Tell us a bit more about what the Congress thinks of the BJP's tribal outreach, particularly this election season.
See, first of all, anything to uplift the tribal community is welcome. But the question is, you need to see the intent, right? So what is Mr. Modi doing for the last 10 years? Or did he ever speak about it? He is trying to clearly wipe out the identity of Adivasis. And as explained by Rahul Gandhi, see, they use this Vanvasi and all this. They want to have their industry friends to grab the jungles of the Adivasis. That is what is happening. Now, in the midst of elections, coming out with this scheme, we need to leave it to his own judgment, the Prime Minister, which I don't have much hopes. People are seeing through this. He didn't mean any of these things. In every state where there is an election, he goes with a big bang sort of a announcement, and that's what he's good at. That's what he is doing. And it's our job as opposition to call this out and alert people not to fall prey to such false promises.
Okay, Mr. Bharia, if you have a rebuttal to that, because the Prime Minister was quite scathing in his criticism of opposition parties, especially on what he described as their neglect of the tribal communities. Is there substance to that argument that he made as well?
Absolutely. There is a substance to that, because if you see the per capita income of tribals, even after so many years, it is quite low. Now, the gentleman, he was talking about that, they have not been able to do anything. But then, we go back to the same argument. For 40, 50 years, Congress has been there. And what has happened to it? If you see Prime Minister's outreach, it has not been only tribals, it has been poor. And tribals comprise majority of the poor people. So all the schemes of government of India, which are specifically meant for poor people, and there are a number of schemes, tribals are benefiting out of that. Now, the package which has come of 25,000 crores, that would be in addition, which is very specific, meant for tribals. So I think you will see a huge upliftment in the way the tribals are being approached. Let's take up law and order situation.
Okay.
Right. The way the government has approached has not benefited. Naxals have come down in Jharkhand, and even in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, it is slowly and steadily coming down. So who is benefiting? It's the tribals, because the Naxals had ensured that the development doesn't reach those places.
Okay.
Now that the fruits of development are coming near it, tribals are benefiting out of it. And I would also like to go to the semantics of Vanvasi and Adivasi. I don't think these are bigger issues. The bigger issue is their development.
Sure.
And this acquisition that BJP is basically grabbing lands, very, lame excuse kind of thing. Nothing of that sort is happening. We have all the law at place, and nothing happens beyond that law.
ओके मिस्टर खत्री, मैं आपसे एक सवाल पूछना चाहूँगा. अगर हम स्टेट इलेक्शंस की बात करें तो झारखंड में अगर हम 2018-19 की बात करें या फिर उसके बाद उसके पहले 2018 में छत्तीसगढ़, मध्य प्रदेश और राजस्थान की बात करें तो वहाँ पे शेड्यूल्ड ट्राइब्स जो हैं ज़्यादा संख्या में उन्होंने कांग्रेस के लिए वोट किया या फिर कांग्रेस जेएमएम के लिए वोट किया झारखंड में. लेकिन लोकसभा की बात करें तो ये नंबर्स पलटते हैं. शेड्यूल्ड ट्राइब्स लोकसभा के दौरान अगर आप 2014 की बात करें या फिर 19 की बात करें तो लोकसभा इलेक्शंस में भारी संख्या में उन्होंने भारतीय जनता पार्टी को वोट किया. ऐसे क्यों हुआ?
देखिए, निश्चित रूप से आपकी सारी बातें सही हैं कि पिछले लोकसभा के चुनावों में और उसके पहले के विधानसभा के चुनावों में ऐसी स्थितियां थी. लेकिन अब झारखंड की जनता और समस्त आज जो हम आदिवासी जिस पहलू पर हम चर्चा कर रहे हैं, ट्राइबल्स की हम बात कर रहे हैं, वो अब जागरूक हो चुके हैं. अब ये ठगने का काम नहीं कर सकते हैं. मैं बता रहा हूं क्यों. ये आज का दौरा जो था इनका, इस पर कहीं बात नहीं हुई सरना धर्म कोड की, कहीं बात नहीं हुई पिछड़ों के जो आरक्षण थी उसको इनकी सरकार ने कम कर दिया था उसकी, कहीं बात नहीं हुई कि जहां एचईसी जो झारखंड में जिसने चंद्रयान का लॉन्चिंग पैड बनाने का काम किया वो आज बर्बाद होने पर है. आज सिर्फ और सिर्फ जो 17 नवंबर को छत्तीसगढ़ और मध्य प्रदेश में जो चुनाव होना है, और मैं समझता हूं कि जहां तक मेरी जानकारी है कि छत्तीसगढ़ में 17 सीटें हैं जो आदिवासी रिजर्व सीटें हैं, उसको प्रभावित करने की एक नाकाम कोशिश.
ओके.
और आने वाले समय में लोकसभा के अंदर में भी हम समझते हैं कि अभी आपने तो कहा कि सेमीफाइनल है, इस सेमीफाइनल में इनको जवाब मिल जाएगा. जब रिजल्ट आएंगे इस सेमीफाइनल में ही इनको जवाब मिलेगा और सेमीफाइनल में भी इंडिया की जीत होगी. और हम समझते हैं कि आज जो भारत का जो मैच हो रहा है उसमें भी इंडिया की जीत होगी.
Mr. Meka, semi-final was of course a figure of speech because it didn't turn out to be a semi-final in 2018 because as far as the Lok Sabha elections panned out, they went in the completely opposite directions to what the state elections had yielded in 2018. So tell us about what your perspective is about whether or not this can actually be called a semi-final, because the patterns of voting have been quite different when we compare 2018 and 2019.
See, first of all, for Mr. Modi and his party, everything is related to votes and seats. For us in Congress party, there are some things. For example, the upliftment or the rights of the Adivasis and the social harmony of this country and the independence of the institutions of this country, the protecting the constitution of this country. These are beyond votes and seats for us. We stand for those ideas. Unlike Mr. Modi, who does everything with votes and seats in his mind. Yes, we are a political party. We are fighting the elections. We will defeat Modi. But there are some issues which are beyond votes and seats for us. This is about India. This is about what kind of society we want to be. This is about what kind of country we want to give to our future generations. That's the fight we are in.
Okay. Final question to you, Mr. Bariyar, before we close this discussion. I just wanted your perspective as a political analyst and a close observer of politics to shed some light on the activities of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, primarily the organization, the Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram. Taken on extensive outreach as far as tribal welfare is concerned. Do you think that has been an X factor as far as the gravitation or the shift in terms of voting patterns on the part of tribal communities, especially in the Lok Sabha, is concerned towards the BJP because some of the activities that they've carried out?
See, it is a social and cultural organization, and they do a stupendous work in ensuring that the tribals understand their rights as well as their duties and responsibilities. More importantly, that organization has been working selflessly, without any limelight, to ensure that the traditions of Adivasis, which are maintained, and they do not sway away by some other thoughts or some kind of ideology.
Okay.
So I do not connect both as such, but yes, a more aware Adivasi will definitely vote for the nation and for nationalistic ideas. And I think inadvertently BJP, because it stands for nationalistic ideas, would have benefited out of this.
All right, that's Mr. Bariyar, Mr. Meka, as well as Mr. Khatri, of course, shedding some light and giving us some very important perspective on how these elections might pan out, including, of course, how the tribal communities might actually cast their vote. I'd like to continue this discussion. Mr. Khatri, एक और सवाल आपसे पूछना चाहूँगा. झारखंड में 2024 में आपको क्या लगता है क्या होगा, क्योंकि अभी जो हम रीसेंट इलेक्शंस की बात कर रहे हैं वो तो ऑफ कोर्स झारखंड में नहीं हो रहे, लेकिन प्राइम मिनिस्टर मेड अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेटमेंट ऑन द एनिवर्सरी ऑफ बिरसा मुंडा टू हाईलाइट द फैक्ट कि जो बाकी पार्टीज हैं उन्होंने नेग्लेक्ट किया है ट्राइबल वेलफेयर को. झारखंड हैज ऑलमोस्ट 30 to 35% ट्राइबल पॉपुलेशन कॉन्सेंट्रेशन. Which way do you think the votes might swing in the Lok Sabha in Jharkhand in 2024?
देखिए, झारखंड के आदिवासी और हम समझते हैं कि पूरे देश के आदिवासी इस बार नरेंद्र मोदी जी को और भारतीय जनता पार्टी को जवाब देंगे, और जवाब देना भी बनता है. जिस प्रकार से मध्य प्रदेश में मूत्र त्याग किया गया, चेहरे पर शर्म आनी चाहिए. मणिपुर क्यों नहीं गए, ये भी पूछ रहे हैं वहां के आदिवासी. तो इसका जवाब पूरे देश के आदिवासी देंगे और इसकी शुरुआत झारखंड से ही होगी.
Okay, Mr. Khatri, Mr. Meka and Mr. Bariyar, many thanks for your participation in this very important discussion. We'll see how the elections pan out.